Hi, I'm Terri Eaves, the owner of Bash, and this is my associate, Joyce Ozturk. We'll be discussing with you tips on creating your seating chart.
So before you start thinking about your seating plan, you first need to decide how you'll be tracking RSVPs. We recommend using Excel because it's simple and straightforward. You don't need anything fancy, just a way to track the first and last name of your guests, as well as meal preferences or dietary restrictions.
Why create a seating chart? Most importantly, it avoids confusion and it gives your guests a sense of direction. Your guests want to be told what to do. It also creates a sense of formality. Not only can you do escort cards, which tells your guest a specific table to be seated at, but you can also do place cards, which tells your guest a specific chair at their table they should be seated at.
When should you start with your seating plan? There's two important considerations. First, make sure that you have received all of your RSVPs before you begin. This will help you avoid having to go back and make a lot of changes later on. Secondly, you'll need to make sure that your venue layout is finalized so you know how many tables you have and where they'll be placed.
These are the supplies you'll need to create your seating chart. You'll need your guest list, a large piece of foam board, a copy of your venue layout, Postit flags in different colors, stickers that correspond to your table shape, or you can draw the shapes directly on your foam board, and a Sharpie marker.
So to get started, take your foam core and use the stickers to place your tables according to the table layout that your venue has provided. Just make sure that you leave enough space around them that you can place 8 to 12 Post-it notes around each table. Next, you'll want to number your tables so that you can keep track of the table numbers, and if your tables have varying guest counts, you can make a note of how many guests maximum can be seated at each table so you know what you have to work with. Next, you'll want to divide your guests into categories. This may not apply to you because you might have a lot of overlap, but if you do want to divide your guests into categories, some examples would be family, friends, and work colleagues, children, older guests and younger guests, or bride side and groom side. Again, you don't have to do this, but if it makes sense for your guests, you can use different colored Post-it notes for each of your categories. So the final step before you begin actually creating your seating chart is to create individual Post-it notes for every guest. Even members of a couple each need their own Post-it note, as do children if they'll be seated on their own.
Then you'll begin actually laying out your seating chart. First, start with your head table, which will likely include members of your immediate family as well as your wedding party. Then begin filling in the other tables. Feel free to move the Post-it flags around as needed because you'll likely have many changes. After you've done your seating chart, take a photo of your large piece of foam board because you will continue to make changes and you can use this as a reference to see where you previously sat guests at. After you're done, go back to your Excel file and create a column for table numbers and guest meals. These can include things such as children's meals or vegetarian options. Be sure to also create a smaller version of your foam board for your caterer and your planner. This will help them know how many guests are at each table. Be sure to also provide to them a copy of your Excel file so they know again how many guests are at each table as well as your special guest meals. Be sure when you make any changes to update not only your Excel file but your master foam board. Joyce and I want to thank you for watching our video today.
We hope that these tips will help you create a seating chart for your wedding and make your wedding day go much more smoothly.